Hi Yogi, welcome to Yoga with Alina, and today we have another tutorial. Today we're going to talk about tripod headstand. I feel like I say it about every single tutorial that I'm doing, but this is one of my favorite poses. I guess we won't be doing that if it wasn't one of my favorite poses. But also a cool thing is that it is actually pretty easy. I call those poses party tricks because people think that they're super, super difficult, but if you know how to set it up, if you know your foundations, you will be able to get into it with absolutely no problems. And this is what hopefully you will get out of this tutorial, a step-by-step of how to get into tripod headstand. But before we step on the mat, there are a few rules that I want to talk to you about. There are two no-nos if you decide to practice this one with me. And the first no-no is never jump into a headstand. Now, you can jump into handstands all you want. You have two arms. I don't care about the arms. Who cares? I broke mine multiple times. I'm still here. Nothing crazy. But you only have one neck. If you break your neck, you're screwed. And there's no other way to put it. We are not jumping into any headstands, not tripod, not traditional, not any other headstand. And this is my rule number one. Rule number two, or rather second no-no, we are not using a wall. And this one is a little bit controversial, right? Because you'll probably be, why this is so much support, or a little bit easier mentally. But if you're not jumping, why the hell would you need the wall, right? Wall is there to trick us. If you get on the wall, very hard to get off the wall. By the way, same with handstands, but that one for another tutorial. If you get on the wall, very difficult to get off the wall, and you don't need the wall if you're not jumping, if you're following that first rule. So again, two no-nos, no jumping, no wall. And there's actually a third rule, which is just a rule, it's not a no-no, because there's no word no in that. We're keeping that. Good. The rule number three is that we are going to forget the way that you think the pose should look like. I don't care about your legs being straight up in the air. As a matter of fact, when you get your legs all the way up to the ceiling, that's the easiest point of the pose. This is the easiest part to do. Getting there is what matters, and this is what we're going to work on today. Let's get to the mat. I'm back here on the mat with Teo, with my friend who is going to show us the entire tripod headstand setup. So before we start, just so you know what you're getting yourself into, we're going to go into 8 separate steps. And this is always how I set it up, and this is how I'm going to be teaching you to set this one up. Foundation is everything, so let's start with that part. Bring the hands down to the floor. We'll go from there. Good. Just go under a tabletop or something like that. Beautiful. Notice how his hands are directly underneath his shoulders, right? They're not wider. They're not more narrow than that, right? Narrower, I guess. They're right underneath the shoulders. And that's going to create a stable base. We really want this. By the way, this is still step one. We're just setting it up. Lower the crown of the head down. Good. Now this is what I want you to not do, right? So we are working on tripod. And if you think about tripod, think about 3 points of contact. Right now, his hands and his head are in one line. This is very difficult to balance. It's not impossible. You can balance like that, but it is a very difficult way to balance. And also another thing, right now his crown of the head is not exactly on the floor, right? The crown of the head is probably somewhere here, I think. So right now his forehead is on the floor. So once the forehead is on the floor, when you start applying more pressure, you're going to have a lot of pressure on your neck. Again, not something that we're looking for. So bring your head a little bit further, actually not a little bit further forward, much further forward, way. Nope, even more. Oh, no, you're good. Okay, perfect. So now we have our 90-degree angle with the elbow. And actually, I'm going to ask you to bring the hands a little bit further back. Good. So we're creating an actual 90-degree angle with our arms. This might feel a little bit awkward and a little bit weird, especially when you first start, right? But it's going to give you a really stable base. It's going to create a lot of stability. All right, now you're going to keep everything as it is, tuck the toes under, and lift the hips up. Good. We're getting into our second step. We want to bring the hips on top of the shoulders. So walk the feet in. Now when you start walking the feet in, you're getting more weight into the head. There's still weight in your arms. And by the way, notice how he's hugging the elbows. And remember your chaturangas. If you haven't looked at that tutorial, make sure to do that. You're hugging everything in. You keep that 90-degree angle with your arms. But right now his hips are stacking on top of the shoulders. More weight in the head, much less weight here. Really becoming well, not comfortable to hold, I can tell you that. But manageable for sure. That was step 2. All right, step 3, we're going to bring both knees, keep the feet down on the floor, but bring the knees on top of the triceps. There you go. This is your step 3. And if you're just starting out with this tripod headstand, then this is where I want you to stay. This is where I want you to be with the toes down on the floor and with the knees on the triceps. If you're going a little bit further, if you feel that you can, the next step, step number 4, you're going to lift the feet off the ground. Don't squeeze them to your glute, just lift the feet off the ground very casually. Good. And again, just check it out, test it out. That's already a headstand, by the way. He's already in the headstand. He's already holding it. Not easy, but if you're at this point, you're already there, and it's just step 4. Good. Next step, if you're going further with us, bring the heels to your glutes. You want to make yourself as small as possible so that you can lift yourself up. The smaller you are, the more engaged your muscles you are, the easier it will be for you to lift yourself up. So this next step, this heels to your glutes, is to make yourself a little bit smaller here. Good. So next step, I just want you to lift the knees off your thigh, off your triceps. That's it. Stop. There you go. This is going to be your next step. And this is where the torture begins when I'm teaching you this. Lower the knees back down to the triceps. Good. Lift the knees back up. Lower the knees down. Good. Lift the knees back up. Stay here. Unless you can do this part, do not go any further. This is your core and this is your stability. If you have your core strength to do this, you will not fall over. I promise you that much. Good. Next step, I think this is step number 7. You're going to lift the knee. Nope. Good. You're going to keep the heels squeezed. You're just going to lift the knees higher. There you go. Stop, stop, stop. Good. Lift the knees a little bit higher. That's it. Good. So his knees are still bent, but they're lifted. And from there, start straightening the legs all the way. This is your last step. Now here's the thing, once your legs are stacked, right, once your body is stacked in one line, this is not very, but it's much easier to hold. So whatever we were doing before, it was preparation for this moment. And I'm pretty sure that after what we just did, he can hold it for a very long time. Because everything is stacked. When you're standing like I'm standing right now, you don't really feel the pressure. Right now his bones are stacked. And the reason they're stacked is because we prepared the body and we went in steps and we set ourselves up for success. Good. Same way you get in, you're getting out. Bend your knees first. Good. Lower the knees. Slowly lower them to your triceps. Lower the feet down to the floor. Good. And let it go. Take your time. How are you feeling? Are you alive? Good, yeah. Okay, good. So, this was your tripod headstand. And you can see you don't really need a wall here, right? If you are controlling your core, you don't need that wall for yourself. And make sure you're not jumping because you will lose all the balance. You can stop at every single step, and that's going to make you stronger. That's going to get you deeper. And once you stop at a certain point, right, once you stop at a certain step, think about why can't you go to the next one, right? Is that your core strength? I can almost guarantee that in most cases it's going to be a core strength. Maybe go into crunches. Because whatever we were doing with you being upside down, that was simply a crunch, right? It was nothing more than a crunch. That's it. It was just that his legs were up and his head was down, but he was still doing a crunch. So preparing for this pose, you can always do that same thing on the floor. Laying down or in the gym, you can always prepare yourself to later play with this amazing, amazing pose. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope this was informative for you, and I really hope you will be able to practice it without fear, with a lot of control, and with a lot of joy, because this pose makes me really happy. Especially when I first got into it. It was so much happiness in my life. So I hope you get to feel that, experience that. Thank you so much for staying with me for this tutorial. Namaste, Yogi.